Brilliant. So welcome everyone inside the kitchen and around the kitchen. Hi and hello everyone on YouTube. It's glad to have you once again with our Volt Kitchen Talk. We're going to have a brief introductional session in a minute after I'll have shared what this is about. It's about politics. Because we are a political party, Volt, and it's also about what you all have experienced, hopefully many, many times yourselves, wonderful discussions with or without a drink in your hand, at a party, at someone's home, somewhere on the planet, maybe late at night, maybe early in the morning, where you just wanted to check in for another glass of whatever, or a little snack, a bite. And suddenly you looked at your watch and it was 2 hours later because you got involved into a discussion that happened at that kitchen that was so exciting that you couldn't leave. And your friends were wondering, like, where is she? Where is he? And they might have even joined. So that's what you do with us. Join the discussion, join our exchange, join our learning journey that we are aboard here with Volt, because we never stop learning. And tonight we decided to talk about entrepreneurships with entrepreneurs, because this kind of makes sense to us. We've got two super seasoned entrepreneurs, while still at least one of them has just founded his last company only 1 year ago, but he can tell you more himself. And as he is English speaking, so are we, a pan-European party. Speaks English, of course, aside many other languages, so no problem. And we, have just started 2 minutes ago. We will finish approximately at 8:30, pretty much on time. If we don't find anything interesting to talk about anymore before, we might say goodbye earlier, but that has never happened so far. So stay with us. And of course, super important too, ask your questions, throw your ideas at us, leave comments, use the tool that you've got in your hands, whether it's a smartphone, a tablet, a computer. Even if you're just listening in, this is what this lives off, which is your contribution. It's your brains that we want to pick as well. We want to learn from you as well. Who are you? Why are you interested in entrepreneurship? Because just to share one, I think it's a poor fact, 0.09% of the working age population in Germany were interested in becoming entrepreneurs 1 year before the pandemic hit. So in 2019, official numbers, we will add the source, but it's a serious one, I can promise. I checked myself. Said this, 0.09% of people between age 18 and I think it's 60 in Germany decided to own their business, to found a business, to become entrepreneurs. And that despite the fact that the media is quite full of stories about entrepreneurs and the internet entrepreneurs, and there's TV shows and lots more. But that gap in between, that is another point of interest tonight. What's going on there? Why that gap? What does it need to probably interest more people in becoming entrepreneurs? Or is it just a crazy ride? Is it not worth the drama? Our title says it. We titled, is it fight? Is it a Charlie horse? Or is it a career chance even? So before I talk even more, let's start with an entrepreneur, and the one who is, as I learned just quickly before, in Turkey tonight, in Istanbul. Welcome, Nihat. Who are you?
Christopher, first of all, I really appreciated you invited me to this call. And beside the party's rules, principles, as well as policies, when I heard the kitchen, that really I told myself that this is going to be an intimate discussion, and it's going to be from the nerve center of the party. Because the kitchen, if you look around, I mean, even in our houses, that's the nerve center where everything starts: food, discussion, even fights, even with our partners and so on. Who am I? Coming to that questions and really opening it to the kitchen. I've been really a global citizen. The number of passports and living permits that I have is really, it will take a whole day to explain it to you. But I started my career in US, then I went to Japan, lived in Asia Pacific many years, then moved to Switzerland several years, then came to Germany, went to UK. Now I'm back to Germany. And because of what you mentioned, to become an entrepreneur and to go in that 0.09% population that exists in the German market. My background is purely in international finance, but lately, last almost 20 years, I've been managing as a CEO for mostly the technology companies that really touches the consumers, touches the compliances. And that's why it's important for us to talk about politics. The world is changing so quickly in the blockchain, in the cryptocurrencies, in the many other technology-related areas. So I'm very excited to share and, of course, learn from the audience as well as the part of the participants tonight.
We're super glad to have you. And Jenny, you just met Nihat in the kitchen. First impression, first question, and of course, your own introduction.
Of course. Hi, my name is Jenny. I am a teacher for English and chemistry, so I'm rather far away from entrepreneurship. For whatever reason, that never seemed very appealing to me, but as your statistic says, I'm not alone in that. Which makes me a little glad, but at the same time, I always, at least in the last couple of years, I felt that more and more young people like to do their own startup, like to get involved and do things, but making me feel like I have to, maybe too. But yeah, other than that, I'm also busy at Volt. I've joined last year. I'm the city lead in Düsseldorf. That's where I'm located at right now. And yeah, I met Nihat a couple minutes ago. He seems like a really knowledgeable guy. I'm interested to hear whatever he has to say tonight. And I don't know, I don't have a first question for him yet, but maybe we can hear from someone else as well.
Yeah, I've got one for you. How old are your students or pupils? Are they already capable of thinking about entrepreneurship in any way?
Yeah, 5th through 13th grade. And actually there are programs where we will have little students' businesses. I just joined my school in November, so I'm not 100% familiar with what's happening there yet. But at the school where I did my teacher training, they had little student businesses. It was like a kind of a club or like a prize thing where you could also apply and get prizes for your little startup. I think I remember having, what was it? One group did an add-on for I think, to make it a drinking game. And the other one I saw the other day is they have an Instagram page and you can get custom t-shirts with your favorite song from Spotify. Like they make these little codes from Spotify, I think. And then with this code, you get rights to this song and then they make custom shirts with that. So yeah, definitely something that is like being also brought to students.
Okay, so you're not as far from the topic as it sounded for the first only 10 seconds, but you've got potential entrepreneurs sitting in front of you like every day. That is super interesting, and it's awesome to have you here with us because you can tell the entrepreneurs a lot about Volt's political standpoint on entrepreneurship, and maybe also a bit about the Düsseldorf like habitat and what the topical scene is there. Yanti has joined us in the meantime, so the kitchen is filling up. I know her personally. I know she is a female entrepreneur from Hamburg, and I'm saying this because she's also a mother. And this is an interesting challenge, as we all might be able to imagine. She's currently on mute, maybe because her son is keeping her busy, but maybe not. Yanti, can you hear us? And are you with us? And would you be willing to show yourself and introduce yourself and talk a bit about your business, what it is you do in Hamburg, why you founded it, and what has turned you off ever since, or what keeps you like sticky with it? I guess her son is keeping her busy. So let's turn to, where was it again, Jördis? The Baltic Sea, on which side?
Yeah,
North,
correct.
South?
Stralsund, close to the big island of Rügen. I'm here with my family on vacation. And you were asking before we opened this meeting about a fun fact. And in that moment, my little fun fact opened the door. But now, as he knows, when he comes in again, he'll be pulled into the camera. He doesn't dare to disturb anymore. So, I've been growing up here also in East Germany. And so I'm just wondering about this entrepreneurship. I think to all times you have these self-employed people, right? And hopefully it's not just 99.9% being employed and the rest is self-employed. Is that the case? Like behind your statistics, that'd be frightening because I know so many, restaurant owners and electricians and so on. I hope that's just the number of people who are employed and don't dare becoming self-employed.
Actually,
do you know?
Actually, to yes, I do. It's the number reflects on people owning their own business. So we're not talking about employed people. We're talking about business owners. I have not checked again before the talk what business legal forms, like entities, were counted in. But in my humble opinion, no matter whether it is 0.09 or even 5.9 or even 10.9, being an entrepreneur myself, a tiny little one, it's a very small number.
It's a small number. I think it's very interesting from my professional background. I've studied work and organizational psychology, so it's about work and how you want to work. And I've been working for all my professional life in HR. So what really interests me is the human factor in work, right? What do we want to work for? What's the purpose of our work? So what's our ambition? What do we want to change in the world? And how do we want to work? And how do the people we employ want to work? And how do we collaborate and all these things? So that's very interesting. I'm looking forward to the conversation. And I'm a mother of 3 and a wife to a working husband. So kind of a dual career couple. So this really brings a lot of interesting topics into work, right? What's work? Is that just the things we paid for, or is it that what brings meaning into our life that keeps us healthy?
Christopher, yes. I mean, if you allow me, maybe I'll have the first question because listening hear this for sure. She's like juggling not just one, but multiple careers, being a mother, being a wife, and then of course, working as a self-employed. I mean, I think she's the hero here comparing to me, for instance. I'd like to ask, like she said that all her career, she really looked at the human factor. Us as entrepreneur really being too much and having too much an ego. And our goal is to make a difference and become both financially and business-wise successful. What has changed if you look at the last 10 years, particularly when we think about the Corona time, from the people that we are dealing in who wants to be part of any corporation? What's the expectation change? What's the profile change? Have you seen any really shifts in last 10 years?
I forgot to mention my Volt career. So I'm candidating for the country list of Baden-Württemberg, and I just wanted to add that to the discussion. I read about some, when I was joining workforce, everybody wanted to be with McKinsey. So that was the top employer of choice. And the big consulting companies, because it was about so much money and it was so interesting and so much change. And then in the later years, it was more about you want to be part of the government, right? And which is like the completely opposite. And you got like a safe job and you are not in danger of financial problems, you and your family. And so it's more on the safety side. And I think it's also about work-life balance. So the startup factor, which is, I think that's so challenging and it's so inspiring, but it might be something for the younger years of your life. And then I know many people, yeah. Or, if you are so successful as you both, right, you can keep to it and stick to it. And I guess it's also kind of an addiction, all that. Adrenaline and see what you can move, right? And you don't want to go back and being told what you need to do by a boss. And I know many people who say, I don't even want to be a leader within a company because I still want to see my family. And so I think that's about the future of work, like making it more human, even for the top managers, right? Or maybe especially for the top managers.
Yeah, but you also touched on like the consulting thing, and I also feel like in like my circles, we do have quite a few people who work at consultant agencies that are with Volt Düsseldorf, and I know a few people that landed at consulting agencies, and they work crazy hours and they travel a lot, and I feel like there's like a slight trend to like toning it down a little bit and like finding maybe a consulting agency where you can still have a work-life balance, or maybe even completely dropping out of it. A friend of mine, she wasn't actually in the consulting part, but like in a I'm not even sure what it's called in English, Wirtschaftsprüfung, but she worked crazy hours and she traveled a lot, and she made fantastic money there, and but she decided that's not what I want to do anymore, and she actually dropped everything, and like now she's working at her dad's firm or whatever.
There's so many questions already. My head's exploding almost. But let's try to pick one that might interest many people listening in. Is becoming an entrepreneur equal to not having any life, Nihat?
Correct us, please.
If I look at that from the social perspective, Christopher, the answer is you are really lonely as an entrepreneur because really, and I have worked as a global CEO of a very large multinational companies, almost 15 years. as a CEO, you always get blamed. I mean, shareholders blame you, your direct reports blame you, the market blames you, and so on. But when you're an entrepreneur, it's really different, because as a CEO, you deal with somebody else's money. But as an entrepreneur, you still get blamed similar as the CEO. Your investors blame you, your staff blame you, but then now you have your own money in the game and your own time in the game. Therefore, it's really socially a very difficult, let's say you have to have a certain character to deal with the entrepreneurship, like failure. Failure is given. I mean, you have to fail. I haven't seen in my life, I mean, if you look at towards most successful entrepreneurs, the Bill Gates to like the Apple's founders and all that, they failed multiple times before they became something. I mean, I looked at, for instance, I read recently the biography of Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest presidents in U.S. history. He ran for a Senate seat for at least 18 times, and he failed all, but then he became the best president ever. When I say Senate seats, I mean it's multiple level, like the state level, the county level, and eventually. And therefore, it's a lonely thing. But it's the most satisfying thing once you really see that your thoughts, your view, what you have seen in the market that you brought to the table is successful. It's as good as, like, I mean, I'm sure Yudis will confirm this, that when you see your little baby start running and going to school and then eventually becoming a real human that helps the humanity. Therefore, like, there is a huge satisfaction in that. But Christopher, the beginning is very lonely and it's sometimes very difficult to deal with. And failure is part of the game.
And I guess it's always like pros and cons, right? Like you know, and I want to say thank you for being an entrepreneur, because you're taking a risk, right? And you're employing people and you bring new products and new ideas into the world. And you pay for that by being lonely sometimes and being blamed sometimes. But you can't imagine how my teenage girls blame me. So you're never safe of being blamed. And it's the cool side is you don't have to do what anybody else tells you, right? You take the risk, you take the decision. And of course you ask others, but that's the nice thing about that.
That's true. That independence, sorry, Christopher, that independence is really goes with the character. Like, in certain people are really very happy to have that independence. I mean, nowadays, I mean, I look at our staff and previously, like, working in different countries, looking at skills and the staff that we had. Some people are very comfortable when there is a structured environment. Some people are very, like, that's why that I think the Christopher's earlier comment regarding the government employees or people who works for military. And some people are very comfortable when they work with a big corporate like Procter & Gamble, Walmart, Metro, BMW, because that big corporation gives them that security. And some people are a little bit in the middle. They really want to work with a startup, maybe not to take the risk, as you were pointing out rightly, as maybe an investor or entrepreneur, but they just want to have that enjoyment, that really pragmatic, real fast running environment. And therefore, I feel that entrepreneurship requires a certain character to really feel comfortable to go on. And to your point, like the teenage, the daughter you mentioned, the outcome, the benefits are brilliant if you're successful.
We've got a first question from YouTube, but before I will read that to you, Nia, because it's addressed to you, I suggest that we widen the horizon a little and let Jenny and Yudis share with us a little bit of background insight into Volt policy on entrepreneurship, or attitude, personal attitude, also political attitude towards entrepreneurship. Because so far, I think we've had a great warm-up. We're right in the middle of something already here. But what is the stand of Volt towards entrepreneurship in Germany, We're looking at the election in a couple of weeks even. Is it important? Is it not? I mean, the number that I just quoted suggests it might not be, despite the fashionable stories that we hear about digital business and stuff. And on a second remark, I'd love to hear also a little bit about the Volt position on failure, because I've heard many times before in workshops, in discussions, we need more of that because it's important to fail and then stand up again. But what I've hardly heard is how. How can we do this? How can we get there? Because no one's showing that this is also a path that's worth to take. But maybe I'm just the blind one here. Most presumably I am. So please enlighten us on both aspects. And whoever likes to go first serves first.
Joris, how fit are you on our policies?
I'm no financial expert, and that's the funny thing about it, because we both are very much into education. But
how about
the idea? The idea of Volt is to support entrepreneurs and to make it easier to found an enterprise and to run an enterprise without being part of a turbo capitalism, which would just exploit the surrounding and nature and employees. And so what I always liked about Volt is that it's kind of taking the good parts, at least it feels to me like this, right? If I wouldn't vote Volt, I'd probably vote green. And so I like the nature part of our policies, right? But we also got very strong social parts and also liberal and economical parts. And that's what I really like about the program, that it's so broad and that it just doesn't cover one single tiny spot of politics, but really takes a lot of good things into account. What I also think of speaking about Volt and on the supporting entrepreneurship is the digital state of Estonia, where they, where it's just so easy to found a business and where you can do so much digitally, and I think it's the responsibility of the state to support the basics like the net, right, and the internet and traffic and so on. So and make sure that there's no tax escaping of companies who think, well, in Ireland or on the Cayman Islands, I don't have to pay any taxes. So that's also a thing that will support this tax to prevent this escaping of taxes by the really big players.
Thanks,
Did I put that right?
Yeah.
Anything to add? Great. The little card I showed, as long as the virtual background doesn't kill it, is my electronic Estonian residency.
Don't put it in the camera. People can snapshot it and do things with it. Don't do it. That's fake internet security, Christopher, please.
Well, actually, I would even do it again because it's blockchain secured.
Absolutely.
And Nia
she's explaining digitalization.
That's true. Nobody can hack that, I assure you. And Estonia is one of the best countries that applies blockchain to the citizenship relationship. Many people, just for the audience, many people heard about the G7, G20 countries, because these are the most successful and largest GDP-based economical countries in the world. But there is also called D7. Now it started as a D7 and now it's D15. And then D stands for Digital 7. Estonia was the founder of that. Now the D15 and now Canada has the governorship of that. They really work so closely. The governments work so closely leveraging the blockchain-like technologies to help the citizenship. Therefore, I think if it's an Estonian one, I think Jennifer is right that we have to be very, very careful. But nevertheless, if it's blockchain, you're okay.
Yeah, I fully agree with both of you. And I'll just use the backside of it from here on. The thing about it is that we have a European member state here that was capable of offering a service for entrepreneurs back in 2015 already, where you could sign up from anywhere in the world, pay 100 euros per year, and found a business completely electronically residing in Estonia. So within European Union regulation, to come to Jörde's point about tax evasion and anti-money laundering regulation and so forth. So basically, we speak about companies that become founded in a regulated and safe space, like for both sides, important, like for the government side as well as for the entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. With the German ID card, tell me what you can do electronically today. It's not really a lot. And as I said in the beginning, I don't want to finger point here too much, but this is quite a gap. And what Nihat, you just said, I think this is Volt policy in its purest form. Have a best case, look at it, examine it, learn from it, transfer it as good as possible, and even improve it if you can. And I remember having had a discussion with a Bavarian member of government. It's probably 4 years ago. And the attitude that I met was difficult for me to take, because it was like, Estonia, this tiny little country, this you can't compare. Yeah, we've got totally different infrastructure. I think it was actually 2016, and we were not even talking entrepreneurship. We were talking migrants. So lots of people coming and lots of challenges in terms of their identity that you can manage on the blockchain, for instance, with a system like this. And I don't want to go into further detail, but we can probably note that we have a European member state, Estonia, that has a perfect system in place that could also be super useful for entrepreneurs inside Europe, outside of Europe, to found a business in Europe, run it from here, pay taxes here, employ people here, attract talent to Europe, and so forth. Yeah. I need to now, I'm sorry guys, pick up on the question from YouTube, because otherwise I'll simply forget with my vacation brain. It says, and it probably connects here with our discussion right away. It says, Nihat, how did you start your business? And blockchain, quote, is a rather new technology, and many other companies are trying to use it. How do you get your company visible in this environment? Maybe because this is not an advertising show, start with the first part, put your focus there.
Absolutely.
But also, of course, we are curious to learn about what your startup is actually.
I mean, because at the beginning of our discussion, I mentioned that I lived in many countries, and hopefully when I retire, I'm now eligible to get a retirement fund in 4 countries. So this can tell you how long I lived in several countries. And I established and managed companies in Japan, in US, in Switzerland, as well as in Germany. But I was the CEO of a couple companies in UK, in Turkey, also in US. I have to tell you, as a Volt, if one thing, as an entrepreneur, I ask you, please make our life easy for establishing a company. Forget about the rest, like supporting the startups, supporting with funds or so. Forget about the financial side of it. Bureaucracy, red tape. I established companies in Switzerland, Zug State, US, Delaware State, Japan, in Tokyo, And then I can make a comparison by establishing a company and to answering the audience questions in Germany. I know why the process and then bureaucracy was there, but it was a nightmare. My time, my energy should have gone to build that technology, build that company, rather than dealing with the bureaucracy and then trying to establish a company and trying to opening a bank account. It was a 3 months process. Whereas in Delaware, in US, I can open a company in less than 10 seconds, literally online. As a US citizen, I'm a US citizen too. In Estonia, to your point, Christopher, I can open a company and establish a legitimate company less than 10 minutes. Same goes with Switzerland in Zug. I can open a company, even a corporation, less than an hour. Therefore, like this process is really a huge issue. Coming back to the blockchain, it's a new technology, but the biggest mistake that many people make is that they think blockchain is somewhat linked to a cryptocurrency world. It's not. Blockchain is simply a platform that will enable any technology, any application, any companies to keep their data, their content secure. Because you have a distributed ledger, you have a different, the different blocks keeping that record, and you cannot hack it. You cannot control it. Therefore, when you think of blockchain, please think about a platform where your data, content, information will be kept, first of all, completely secure. And second, you'll be in charge. And therefore, like technologies like blockchain is not came out because of necessity of solving a problem. It came because of a necessity of a philosophical love of new generation, not to depend on third parties or not to be managed by a third parties or like governments or like big institutions or big like banks. Therefore, it's really a philosophical efforts and movement made the blockchain what it is today. And that's the reason that I picked blockchain for the company that, you know, we established, as Christopher said, a year ago.
One sentence about Yaliyomo, which is the name of your company, as I might mention.
Yaliyomo in Swahili language, by the way, means content. And the reason that we picked that, because we deal with the product content. So everything you really buy from any stores, when you scan the barcode, you see a price, but that's for us is a content. And the reason we selected Yaliyomo as a name and of course established the company based on the blockchain platform, because we want to give the secure feeling and a very transparent way of dealing the product for the consumers to see the transparent way of the really that product's journey. If it's transparent enough, you absolutely create the trust. So our motto is that create transparency, build trust.
And it's social responsibility as well, right? Because it gives transparency into the production line, the supply chain, for instance. With wheat, for instance, I've read about a case that you cover where wheat is tracked from the field to the final product that we can buy from the shelves in Germany, right?
Exactly. To your point, Christopher, new generation demands transparency. And there are lots of movements and governments are coming in and some of the parties are started thinking about it. And I sincerely hope Volt be a leader on this. I will tell you three things. One of them is farm to fork. Like when you eat with your fork with any product, you want to know which farm even it came from. The second one is seed to shelf. Like if you put any grain on the floor, like how it became a pasta and came to the shelves of the Lidl, Aldi, Metro. And now there is a third one, grain to glass. Like when you look at the alcoholic beverages and everything that we really drink, how did that grain came in the glass? People want to track this, understand this. And of course, as Christopher said, we want to also know not just the ingredients, how you behaved as a corporate to bring me that product. Did you use the child labor? Did you pay the fair trade prices? I want to know that because I'm giving you my money and drinking that alcoholic beverage or eating that food. Can you prove that to me? Blockchain is the future that will prove it that in a transparent way.
All right. Let's, let that sink in and see for more questions. Jördis, yeah?
Yeah, now I got a question. As it's a kitchen talk, I'm just allowed to ask a question.
Anything.
As I would do in a kitchen while the party is running next door. So, blockchain, I like this idea of transparency and of being able to see the whole delivery chain, right? So like first question would be these laws of transparency within the delivery supply chain. Is this feeding into your business? And I guess it's positive to your business. And the other question would be, and I hope you're not offended, what are the or the flip sides of blockchain, right? I heard about how much energy it's consuming, all these computational processes. How do you see that? Can that be reduced, or is this just in the beginning of the technology and solutions are around the corner? So that'd be very interesting.
Perfect questions. I will start with the second one, which is definitely a serious matter for many, many companies. I mean, even if you think that the Tesla, how they started or planning to accept the Bitcoin, then they were thrown because of this energy consumption issues, while you're trying to sell an electric car to make sure that environment is not being really impacted with the fossil oil, but then on the other hand, you're accepting Bitcoin. It's an issue for the blockchain, especially like the blockchains that really works with the so-called work proof, meaning that you have to solve a problem and you need a lot of energy to solve that problem in order to be part of the block and create your own block. This is a little bit of old era. Many new platforms coming to the today's world, like Ethereum. They're not a work proof. They are a statement proof. Therefore, the energy consumption for new blockchain, new generation of the blockchains are absolutely, probably, I will even make a guesstimate as like 1/20th of the energy that requires a work proof versus the statement proof, the blockchains. So, and everybody who involves in the blockchain making a concrete effort, trying to bring that particular, even if it's a statement work, to even reduce the energy is needed. Lots of, for instance, renewable energies are now acquired by this so-called blockchain farms, like the sun or the wind and so, and that's growing. Therefore, that I would say that even the blockchain community is last 2 years because of changing the mentality in the work proof versus the statement proof and renewable energy, I think will really address that issue quite effectively. So coming back to your first side, the first question is that how in the supply chain that blockchain could bring maybe the transparency. It's the best use case. The reason being is when the data is entered in a blockchain, let's say for your ingredients, let's say the origin of the product, let's say that your confirmation of that you never use a child labor, it's immutable. You will be kept liable for the record that you are declaring and publishing, syndicating to the world. Knowing that you cannot change that content, you cannot change that report, will keep you completely honest. And therefore, like I feel like the more and more that the people, companies start using the blockchain, they will be more and more very careful what content, data, information they record in the blockchain, knowing that the immutable side of the blockchain and knowing that they will be kept liable for it.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I think this is like a power seminar on blockchain, this kitchen talk. Thanks so much for the insight. Yet, entrepreneurship, of course, exists outside the blockchain still. Let's see for how long. And as you so nicely said, Jördis, this is a kitchen talk. And I just quickly took a look at the average age, for instance, of Volt, and it's 35. And you talked about your own kids, Jördis, Nihat, Jenny, you've got like all these students around you. No, I know, but students in your school that participate in exercises, and you might sometimes probably hear them chit-chat about like ideas before they produce some, I don't know, plan that they present and pitch to win something. And I heard, and I picked up from earlier parts of our conversation, this seeming controversy between going into business, becoming an entrepreneur for the money versus the purpose. And as we just finished with a topic that is like super hot, transparency, in many regards, transparent politics, but also transparent production, transparent logistics, transparent finance, of course. What I wonder is what your guys' perception, your observation is, and maybe Philip, you can chip in here as another representative of the young generation that was so oftenly talked about now. What seems to be important to you, your friends, your peers, the people that you meet? Is it rather the dosh, like making big money, going for a so-called exit when you sell your company as quickly as possible? Or is it contributing good to the world? Or is it a mix? Is it something completely else? What is your take on this? What are your 5 cents? Would you share?
Yeah, for sure. But since I'm a business administration student, I'm not so sure about the representativeness. I don't know the correct word of my friends in this topic, because
it's a kitchen. It's
1
a.m. in the morning.
I just want to send a quick disclaimer, because a lot of them are interested in money, but yeah, I don't think it's the only purpose for people to found new companies nowadays. I think a lot of social entrepreneurs is a word we hear a lot also in our studies, and we also had a course, corporate social responsibility. So I think the idea that money is the only thing also in business administration is changing, and therefore also the entrepreneurship and what the people want to found is changing. But I'm not so sure how it will go further in the next years. I think there are still, it's not like everybody wants to do social entrepreneurship and just things for purposes, but I think it's growing. It's a growing topic, because also we have a lot of security. I think that's something our parents didn't have so much, or maybe they already got it, but their parents didn't have that. So the money was a key topic in their lives. And I think it is still a key topic for many people nowadays, but I think for us, it's, yeah. Sorry.
Before you continue, Philip, what interests me, and maybe not only me, is when you listen to your fellow colleagues and they talk about purpose, what kind of purpose is it, aside making a life through becoming wealthy? I'm sure you made a distinction between money on the one side and something else on the other, and you called it purpose. What are the purposes maybe that you heard, that you came across? What is all vogue this summer 2021 at your university, at least?
So I'm not sure. I'm not so fluent in English. So maybe purpose is, for us in Germany, it sometimes means something different. Because if we say purpose, we already mean the higher purpose, like not the financial purpose, but like like doing something good, something social, something for the climate. But I think that's two of the main topics. So there are a lot of entrepreneurs who want to do something new companies that help to attack the climate crisis. There's a lot of interest. So a friend of mine is dealing with a topic where they want to increase the number of I don't know the English word for that, but the new heating system that is more sustainable for the future. So he's dealing with that topic. But there's also, people who want to do social companies. So they're more interested in engaging their fellow employees to get more into businesses and to also profit from that. And I'm not sure right now. It's hard for us to deal with everything because of the Corona crisis. So a lot of us misses the going out, going on vacation. So that's a topic that's a bit more important now in the current phase for us. But I think the other parts will also grow again.
Okay, fair enough. And is it a university full of rich students, or where do they take the money from to found their first business? I'm hinting at another question that came from YouTube, which is about venture capital.
So also for me, I think there's in Germany, it's not so bad. If you're a student at the university, there are some programs that will fund you for like a year, so that at least you don't have to worry about your about your monthly spendings. You have to go through a process, but then they will pay you like 2,000 to 3,000 euros a month, I think. So you can pay your rent, your food, and also on that sort of stuff. You don't get that lump of funding if you have an expensive idea. So then you have to finance that also again, but you don't have to worry about yourself. So you have a year for that. But then that's a big topic, I think, in Germany. It's called, I think, the Valley of Death. So you get the first idea, you get the proof of concept, which is like you have an idea and you show that it can work, so that it's an idea that is worth pursuing. That's something you can show, but then the proof of market is something that is hard to do. So like showing that you can sell it, that it's sustainable economically, and then you have to get the financing, and that is a big issue in Germany. So we don't have a lot of venture capital here, and like you saw last year with BioNTech and CureVac, they got their money mainly in the US too, because they didn't get enough financing here in Germany, and that's a big problem, I think, for the future for us, how to finance them.
Christopher, if I may, I think Philip is touching a very, very important topic. And he is so right. And I went through for my own company the same process. Pragmatism comes from the US venture capitalist private equity firms is so different than what we see here in Germany. And there is a change. I mean, there is a really, like, if I compare the German thinking, like funds and family funds that really invest in the startups and things, it's changing, and it's in a positive way changing, but still way behind, if I may say this, that any other countries that I've lived and worked with. I mean, for the German mentality, to Philip's point, that you have to have something proven before you take a risk. But in most cases, if you look at the most successful companies today, even in China, please think about Alibaba. Please even think about Hawaii. You know, the companies that are now coming, like TikTok. All these Chinese companies are trying to dominate the innovation and then coming into the world. They took risks. Whereas I think in Germany, I am part of the society. This is my home. But we really have to learn to take a risk, because we may take 10 risks, but 2 of them will really give us the cutting edge to stay as the 4th largest GDP globally. And therefore, I feel that the funds available in Germany, despite the fact that there are very, very successful startups here in Germany, in Berlin, and definitely coming in the Cologne-Düsseldorf corridor, are really ones that really have the chance that they prove themselves before they got the money. And that has to change, in my view.
I think that brings us back to what Christopher mentioned earlier with the how do we address failure, and like how do we take chances, and like how do we position ourselves to failure, right? Because like as Christoph always said, it's so important to fail. Only then you can learn, and sometimes it is worth taking the risk, and you just don't know before. You have to go with your gut. And I don't know, is there something, this might be a question for Christopher and Nihat as well, or maybe even Philip, is there something that politics can do to like encourage a better environment that makes it easier or more appealing to take those risks?
Jennifer, this is the key. If I look at from, thanks to Christopher, he really educated me about Volt, and I read a lot about it, and I have an amazing respect, like having such innovative ideas. I'll tell you this thing, this much. I lived in DC, Washington, DC for almost 20 years. So I'm really familiar to the American political system, Senate, the Congress, and all that, PACs, like political action committees, and all how it works. I can tell you one thing. As a political, even a view, or let's say a political party, what do? You enable something. You enable either a view or a business or let's say a certain decision. So my view, the political parties today in Germany must enable us. As an entrepreneur, I could have established my own company in anywhere. I have 4 citizens, 3 for citizenship, and I have 6 working permits around the globe. I picked Germany. Why? Because I really believe in the minds and the process-oriented view of the Germany. But you have to encourage me and people like me coming from US, from others, to come here and to really invest and really bring their opinions and their views to the market. How? You just provide an enabling system that we feel comfortable coming here. Today, it's coming. Comparing to 10 years, it's a day and night. It's an incredible improvement, but it's still nowhere near. And to Philip's point, BioNTech, our own company in Cologne, created such an unbelievable cancer research entity, which were looking for a cancer, the vaccine. And now they just found the corona. Why didn't even get any the funding from the German side? They got from Pfizer. So we should not lose the next opportunity, to your point, and hopefully Volt will be the platform that will enable us to do more.
Well, that's also part of our program. You meant like, don't do anything for us, but we found a business easier. And so that's now about German bureaucracy. And some things are about the process, and some things are about the location. You need to go there with your paper and so on. So one thing is about the digitalization of German bureaucracy and making all these processes leaner. And that's what I really like so much about Volt, because it's all about evidence and about benchmarks, and you've got a problem and you try to solve it quickly, and then it won't be solved perfectly, but you take the first step and then you look how you can improve this solution, and so on and so on. And so what I think it's what is difficult in Germany, if it's so difficult to found a business, then why should you try? It's not fail fast, fail cheap, but it's you invest so much and then you fail. So that's difficult, but that's what I also love about Volt. I mean, we've been digital before Corona, right? I've been taking part in the last on-site Parteitag, like assembly of the party. And even then, that was before Corona, we were voting online, right? And some months later, that was even still before Corona in Bulgaria, we had the General Assembly and we could just watch the live stream and take part in the elections. And I think there are so many brains, Germany, like all these German engineers, and the German education and the system of going to university for free. You don't have to take on any debts, and you're trained really thoroughly. And so I think we got lots of advantages, and we need to take that into account and make the rest easier, like all this bureaucracy, the lack of digitalization, the slow internet, I mean, we know the problems. And also the funding for startups has been also part of our electoral program, how to make that easier and how to change investment regulations so that it's easier for startups to get money, especially for those startups who are supporting solutions for our environment and so on. We don't want to invest state money into everything, but just into the businesses which help to preserve our natural environment, for instance. Right?
Which could be the missing ingredient from my perspective, Jördis, for what I'd call vision, to put it quite simply. This is something that I have missed for now more than 20 years already. Vision. What I instead got was explanation after explanation after explanation for please not change anything within the working system. And I think in fact, it goes back to the 50s. And we can still and again see it in this currently running campaign with the different parties, where the one party that hold the power for the longest started in these 50s with this thesis, no experiments. Mm-hmm. And I think this is deeply rooted in the DNA, the cultural DNA, and it reflects down to young people today, which find themselves in a situation that is, from my perspective, Nia might correct me, especially if you take on an international perspective, absolutely unique. You might not even find one single other country on earth where the government fully funds young people throughout a year for their business without asking basically too many questions. Philip said it. It's you get the money. I think it's roughly 1,000, 2,000 something euro, and you can test, you can run, you can just do it. While at the same time, in this very luxurious situation, we have this amount of people using it. I really wonder why that is. And I think we could really benefit from a big vision, a big idea. And what you just touched is, to me, a big idea. Like, admit to the fact that we want to be the poster boys and girls of the world in most things, most times. And if we choose, for instance, climate change or the SDGs in general, I'm up for it instantaneously. So let's become that poster boy. Let's become that poster girl for this. But then let's really go for it. And that needs spirit. And spirit for me would mean also to do everything from inviting entrepreneurs to schools, and not only the ones that became largely successful, made billions of euros, but the small ones, the small businesses, the social businesses, the people who have failed several times, and make it mandatory to them and for them to talk about their failure. And of course, and I don't want to make this longer, we have heard it probably enough times already, ease the entry. So ease, spirit, and vision, and all of it, like the triangle. And I fully agree with Nihat. You don't need to add any more money. Aside for probably, I don't know, the gala with the national president to invite the most successful entrepreneurs every year. I'm sure that at the White House, this is happening every year, at least once, maybe several times.
Absolutely true. To add to that, Christopher, my company, Unseren, became the best company, or I don't know, most respected company in Cologne in 2017. And I got my award from the EU Minister of Entrepreneurship and so on, which was a well-known German minister. And during that time, I talked to mayor, I talked to minister, I talked to various other Senate, the Congress people coming from Germany. And we talk about one thing. I said, look, yes, okay, I'm a US citizen. I have other citizenship, but I see Germany as my home. And I'm here to make this company, which started with 5, now it's 150 million. But here is the thing. You know why we became successful? Because you at the European Union enabled me to bring the right skill, sometimes not only to making it easy for us to establish a company, grow the company, taxation and otherwise, but also to bring the skills in. Please think about the human side of this. Of course, Germany is brilliant. And this is why we are the 4th largest GDP in the world. And we are the most respected when it comes to engineering, many other industries. But we need skills. There are skills, we don't have it in the country. And how can we make it easy also human resource movement-wise, not just the entrepreneur to come and invest, but also the skills to come in, live with us, became part of the society, and became part of the real government, the real part of the day-to-day life that we see in our kitchen, in the Volt kitchen, that they are coming all around and helping us to grow this country. And that's the second part that I think we need to work on it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's basically what we kind of stand for in Volt, right? Like, we see areas where we do need more of the European Union and not less, because it makes it easier for skilled people to like move around and like go in one country, go in another country, also work together. Maybe two companies like can work together across EU borders easily. You know, like there are just certain parts that we need more EU and more free range within the EU, I would say, and some more regulations that also are on the EU level that then make it easier on the lower levels to cooperate and to work. But I would like to really quickly go back to one thing that Christopher said, because he was talking about vision. And I feel like that's something that has been lacking in German politics, like for a long time. Like we always talk, like one party always talks about like, let's do it like we've always done it. And like my grandpa buys into that because we've always been economically well off with them. Let's vote them again. But like when I look around, and I'm not very good with economy, like it's not my topic. It's my brother's topic. He's all about it. I can see that like the countries are getting away from us. Like China is so far ahead. Like there are smaller and like poorer or like less important countries in the EU that have much better internet than we do. Like it's insane. And I feel like we have a good stance, as you said, like we're the largest GDP in the world. I don't see that we're going to be that in like 10, 15 years anymore if we continue this way. And a lot of times we talk about what not to do or what we have to sacrifice to change something or to save the climate. And really, it would be a much better way to give the people a vision, like not what are you going to lose, but what are you going to gain if we change something. Like give them a vision of like what would the future look like if we change these things. And I think that would be the way to get people on board, and maybe also get people on board to Germany, because we paint a vision of like what Germany could be if we change things. Okay, my rant is over.
I loved it.
Love that.
Let's invent the future. I mean, this is much better than prohibit futures from happening. Joris, what is your experience with people's creativity, their longing for change, their ambition to grow, even within a company? Is it there? Is it alive? Is it becoming more, less? What do these people do? Do they change their career path? Do they become entrepreneurs? Is there a possibility to professionalize and cultivate the intrapreneurship line of thinking? Is it mutually exclusive? Can it go together? Any ideas from your side?
No, I think it can go perfectly together. It's like a balance, you know. And I was thinking about this personalities who want to become entrepreneurs. And in psychology, there's a the topic of the big five, so like personality factors which are stable to you. And one is like risk aversion or sensation seeking on the other side. So if you love being into new things, then you might be the perfect entrepreneur, or it might not be too endangering for you, or you might not fear too much the risk, right? But the other side is like, we're humans and we like to be in a herd and we like to be safe. And it's so important to be safe that in the past decades, and I think in many countries, right, not only in Germany, but also in the US and the UK, people vote for conservative parties because they are afraid of losing what they have already. And so I think it's super, super, super important to show not only what you gain, and I'm completely with you, Jenny, right? We must have a vision, and what can you gain from preventing climate change, and how can life be wonderful not without mobility, but with climate neutral mobility. And the other thing is to enable people, you can do this, right? So like feeling a self-efficacy and being educated and being trained to cope with your surrounding, that's, I think, super relevant. And so it's on the one hand, education, like you and your and my topic, Jenny, and like teaching young kids how to be an entrepreneur and leading entrepreneurs. And on the other side, I think it's also the social net. You know, that's why I like living in Germany. There's a social net, and you can't. There's social security, and it's for everybody. And there's a Krankenversicherung, sickness insurance, health insurance, and all these things also like make you more courageous to take a risk if you know that the society is going to catch you. And that's also one big topic of Volt, like closing the big scissors between very, very rich and very, very poor, and make sure that nobody's falling through the net. And I think that helps in taking risks as well.
Yeah, if I could add a point on that, when the UK voted for the Brexit, I was in UK. I lived 2 years in Leeds, UK, not in London, in Leeds, which is really on the south part. It's a very unique, and they don't even see themselves as somewhat associated with the London people, because they think that they are really they are, high noses and so. But the reason that they voted for that, it was one simple, very democratic and very philosophical reasons. They didn't want to be ruled by a selected people versus the elected people, because they felt that European Union, which was just simply appointed, meaning selected, and then this is not what they think, because they elect the people to represent them. Therefore, to your point, I want to add that in today's new generation, really we want to be a part of the decision process. Wherever they are, in Germany, wherever they are, unless you're in probably in Russia or China or the North Korea, but the rest of they want to be part of the decision process. So the question is how we as a party can enable people to feel that real human side of them, meaning that I really was part of the decision. Yes, maybe it didn't really come to what I want, but at least I was part of it, and the majority asked this. This was the issue in the Brexit. So coming back to the entrepreneurship and then even a decision, if I know that I'm in a fair environment, I'm happy to bring millions of dollars from different countries to invest in the place where I feel fair. The question is how Volt and the parties like that can enable that feeling for the people like us who wants to do it and who wants to do it in Germany, without a doubt.
And some other European countries. I mean, this is the rare case of having the same political program simultaneously across pan-European. Hardly the case with anyone else. But anyhow, Jenny, you strongly agreed when Nihat was talking. What did you feel when he was speaking?
I already forgot what part I agreed on.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm already
Doesn't
like,
matter.
like there's so many good points like from all of you that like it's so hard to like.
But you know, Danny, I was just thinking when Nihat was speaking about like involve people into political decisions, I thought, well, that's why I'm with Volt.
I was
right?
not. He was saying the leads thing, right? That people didn't like having people selected, and that's also like one of the parties that we're saying about the EU. It needs to be more democratic because there's one parliament that the people vote on, right? That people elect the MEPs into. They don't have much power. They can like propose laws, for example, and the what's the position called? Head of the commission. What's von der Leyen right now? It's elected by
European Commission.
Yeah, it's elected by the national leads, and I guess they are democratically elected and in a way democratically enabled to make that decision. But I strongly believe that it would be much better if it would be elected by the parliament and more directly by the people.
And I think that's like part of our program, like to be more democratic on a European level, right? But I also was thinking, like Nihat, when you spoke, like people want to be involved, that it's you can be a customer with 13, 14, 15, right? But you can't vote. And so that's also a big thing, which I think is so urgent to give like younger people voting rights. And so that's also what Volt demands for elections on the national and European and country level to be actively and passively electable. So I think that's a big point. And also to give the right to elect two European citizens living in Germany for more than 3 years. And so where you live, you should be able to participate, and that's just the electoral part. And the other part is also like to encourage more political involvement by petitions. Would you say petitions? Like allowing people to say their opinion and to propose generating new laws, for instance. And also like Bürgerbudget, like
the citizens' budget.
Yeah.
Citizens' budget and like really involving citizens into politics more than once every 4 years. So I think this is so.
You know, I have to give a lot of credit in the German government. Maybe not as transparent as you said. Like for instance, in my probably the 9th or the 5th or 6th year, I received a letter from the German government. They said, Mr. Arkan, you've been here, you're a CEO of a company, the company is very successful, and then we would like to offer you a citizenship because you are qualified. And and then at the same time, we would like to offer a program to your kids and your wife to really fully integrate with the system. My hats are far off. And at that point, I said, this is a country that's civilized, that really understands the human nature of the business, the growth, the democracy, the rights that we have. And then that's the time that I really decided to stay and establish this company here in Germany. So there are unbelievably positive things that in our society where we live. But still, when you take this to the global level, at the competitive level, when we look at how China is growing, how US is in a pragmatic way growing and then dominating the technology and so, we should not let Germany to stay behind. To your earlier point of that, this amazing skill set, know-how, historical knowledge and expertise in engineering, in chemistry, in biology. We should not let that go. How could that happen? Transparency, and more importantly, enabling whoever that person is, entrepreneur, a staff, new guy coming in outside. And I think that's the politics that we really need to work all together. And I'm here to support Volt and more to really do it in the pan-European level. because this is what we have to really make a change in today's society.
Wow, Nihat.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got a
please.
question. It's another kitchen talk question, because I was reading about Silicon Valley and how hard the guys work there and how difficult it is and how somehow unhuman working conditions are there. So like I'm always critical about the price. What is the price we are willing to pay as a country for business to come and do business here? And like, I wouldn't be willing to pay any price. And I'm not the person who would say, let's give up on privacy or data security or compliance issue to get those big companies in and make big business here. Because I think that's what policy is there for, to like regulate, right? To support, but also to regulate, to set boundaries. And so our new business will be data security or privacy or so. And I'm in for that, but I'm not in for the big profit for any price. So what do you think about that?
I fully agree with you. There is really a comfortable medium in that. One side, you have that very, let's say, aggressive capitalism. I just want to give you now we had the Olympics, right? When you look at many of the US sportsmen, when they got a silver medal, they are so upset. They say, oh, I got the silver medal. I tried very hard. Whereas when you look at the many European countries, Germany included, when they got the third place, the bronze medal, they said, I did it. I really accomplished a lot. Why? In capitalism, only the number one wins. The rest is like second person that people say is the first loser. That's not the case. I think the world is evolving, especially after Corona, that we have to realize that second place is not the first loser. It's the place that we can grow onto it. So to your point, I agree with you wholeheartedly that we have to build an environment that even if you're in second place, you should be considered as a success. And that's how we're going to evolve. Now, it's not just the winner takes all ability is going to work. And that's where I really respect the liberalism, because in the past, in capitalism, the winner always took the all. That will not work in the long run, because the world is big enough, the business is big enough that to accomplish to give also to benefit to many companies who are maybe the second or third winner. And therefore, like, I really feel that Germany, being the fourth largest economy in the world, in order for us to maintain the where we are today, we really need to really think a little differently what we did in the past. Because first of all, human resources are changing. The new X and Y generations, the way that they look at the business and the work environment is changing. And the third is that all along, the capital movement to support these new ideas are also changing. We have to create, even as a party, to an environment that the people, capital, as well as the new ideas to feel comfortable to grow. I think Germany has an incredible potential for that.
We couldn't have had any better closing remark, in my humble opinion. So I humbly thank you for that, Nihat. It wasn't prepared, it wasn't scripted. It came, as you said, from you wholeheartedly. And you are the living proof of stake and work and of the capacity to be an entrepreneur with a life, because I know you've got a family waiting for you, because you are about to have dinner in Istanbul. And I think it would be more than fair for us to respect that. And thank you from all of us, me personally, Volt, for having taken the time tonight to share some of your experiences and opinions with you. Thank you very, very much. It was a pleasure.
My very big pleasure. Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful to you, Christopher, and you with your thinking, your vision, being part of me. Just for you all to know that before I launched Yeliomo in Germany, Christopher was the first person that I talked to. And he looked at me and said, yeah, this is a great idea. And his words remains with me. And then as much as I know it was the right thing, but having an approval from Christopher made me to go forward. So I'm really thankful to you, Christopher, as a person, as a friend, as a really a very close, and he's my board member also. He really looks after me. But I also thank you very much, Jennifer, Philip, definitely Yudis. It's a pleasure to meeting you and the rest of the team. So thank you. And I look forward to be part of the more kitchen discussion. Please don't, take me out. And if you want to know the dirty laundries about Biden, let me know. Today he had a problem with his brother, with his son. So all the best and thank you and very good luck. And this is brilliant, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Nihat. Thank you, Nihat. And enjoy your dinner.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
And to all the remaining crew guys here, of course, thanks from my side too. Philip, I kindly ask you to do some aftercare and look at the chat again and look at the channel again if we've got any remaining questions. I know there's one. It was super technical. It was about the difference between proof of stake and proof of work. I think it was, I hope it was okay for me to park that while we were on pretty different levels of discussion, way more philosophical, way more political. But it's an important question and we will surely address it, give an answer. Maybe even Nihat can contribute to that. Me, I was already kind of, enthusiastic. I told you after 20 minutes. Now, after almost 90, I'm more than enthusiastic because we have these wonderful people like you guys and also Nihat and Yanti from Hamburg. She told me via WhatsApp she was with us, but she indeed had her son sitting on her lap in a car on the co-driver's seat. And it was a busy a ride, so she listened in, but she couldn't speak. She would have loved to, so I hope we're going to have another chance to board her onto our kitchen talk. A fun question for me to ask you guys for closing. If you were to found a business, like let's say tonight, Jenny, and you really had to, and someone left, I don't know, 100,000 in front of your door, what kind of business would it be?
I actually pretty much know what I would do. I would found a company that develops apps for chemistry lessons because I feel like there are some great ways you could use technology to visualize things that we usually cannot visualize on an atomic level, for example, and also I always feel like it's very difficult for my students, the whole, what are atoms made of, and electrons and protons, then what happens when they come close, or what happens when reactions happens, and where you can like move the electrons maybe, or something like that. Something along those lines I feel like is missing, and I like, if anyone wants to develop an app with me, I have no idea how to do it, but like, feel free to contact me.
Fantastic. Thanks. That's a great idea. I can already see it. Philip, what do you found tonight?
I cannot say the name because I have to check with other people, but the idea is to link older and younger generations and to make use of their abilities. So like I go shopping for my grandparents, but sometimes you live in another city, and then maybe other young people could help the older people with shopping, and on the other side, the older people can, give their experience they made about their life and to connect them via a service that would be the company.
Wow. Wow.
That's so wonderful.
Sounds so lovely too. Fantastic. Yudis, what is your company going to be?
I would found a data analytics company, which would be like the Valomat, but it wouldn't be on political promises, but on political success, like what did you promise? How would you measure? What have you reached? And will I vote for you again?
Performance. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, very different ideas. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for the intimate insight into your very personal lives here. And again, thanks for having been with us in the kitchen. I sincerely hope you had some fun with it as well, aside the hopefully also intellectual stimulation and inspiration from our almost a keynote speaker tonight, right, Nihat? Because Paulo wasn't technically able to make it. He sends his regards and his excuses, but he's traveling and he deinstalled and reinstalled the app. Yeah, he needs a new app as well. And in the end, he couldn't make it. And Yanti, I explained, but I think with Nihat, we had a very knowledgeable and even wise entrepreneur with us, so seasoned, so internationally experienced, and so surprisingly fond of Volt. I didn't brief him that way, just to say that again. We work sometimes together, we see each other, but I did definitely not give him any purple letters or scripts or briefings before. He just got the link and the invitation. That was it.
We need to win him over. We need to win him over. You try from the one side and we from the other side. And thanks so much, Christopher. It was lovely in your kitchen and I felt so at home. A great party. Thanks so much for your moderation.
Well, it was a pleasure with you guys. I hope you have a wonderful remaining evening. And Philip, also thanks to you, and George, thanks to you for the technical and visual and organizational preparational work, and all the others that were there as well. We're going to meet again for another kitchen talk. It's going to be online, announced, and keep it Volt. Bye for now, and see you soon again.
You, Volt.
Bye.
Bye.